Namaste and good morning to all of you. Let's start our Thursday class with the prayers. Om Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parbrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Om Bhu Bhuva Swaha, Tatsavitra Varenayam, Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi, Diyo Yo Naha Prachodayat, Asto Ma Satgamya, Tamso Ma Jyotirgamya, Mrityurma Amritam Gamya, Om Sehna Bhavtu, Sehna Bhunaktu, Seviryam Karvavahi, Tejasvi Navadhitamastu, Ma Vidvishavahi, Om Shanti 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 Om. Today we're going to start Taittiriya Upanishad and the books which you have. This is the last Upanishad in this book. So let me look at the page number. It's a page number 213 where that Shanti part or the prayer starts. Okay? But before we start the Upanishad, I just wanted to share this with you, even though you have heard this before many times. That Rishi Vyas is the one who compiled all the Vedas and divided them into 4. Before that, it was just one large, like an ocean of knowledge in the form of mantras. So he compiled them, divided them into 4 parts. So he called them Rig Ved, Yajur Ved, Sam Ved, and Atharva Ved. And each Ved was further divided into broad 3 sections. Mantra section, Brahman section, and Aryanak section. So these are the 3 division of each Ved. So the mantra portion contains the expressions of wonderment, joy and ecstasy. When these rishis, these seers, these yogis, when they saw this nature, they said, how beautiful. So it's like in the exuberance of that beauty of the nature, those mantras came out. How beautiful the sunrise looks. How beautiful at night the moon is. How grand this ocean is. So these kind of phenomenal powers, they are mentioned in the mantra portion of the Vedas. And the second portion, I said Brahman portion, that contains the detailed and scientific description of the methods of various ritualistic performances, Brahmans. So there are also some methods to invoke the mighty powers. Devotees, when they have some desires, they want desires to be fulfilled, they want to connect with God. That is in the Brahman portion. This Brahman portion can be further divided into 2 subsections, Karma Kand and Upasana Kand. Okay, so there is a mantra portion, Brahman portion. Brahman portion has 2 parts, Karma Kand and Upasana Kand. So the rituals, the rules, the prescriptions for various yajnas, that is in the Karma portion, Karma Kand. But comparatively subtler meditations, they are in the second part, which is Upasana. Okay? So I just wanted to have this whole diagram in front of you when you study something like this. And the last section is called Aryanak. Aranya means forest. So that really means that these Upanishads, this is an Upanishadic portion, Aryanak. That mind should be calm. So rituals, they are needed. Upasana is needed. But then there should be some time in our life where we sit back. It's like a mind is almost retired. With the help of the intellect, we just delve deeper into these studies. It's not to fulfill certain desires, the worldly desires. So the Upanishad, this is also called a Vedanta. Vedanta, that's where the Vedas end. So culmination of the Vedas. So Taittiriya Upanishad is part of this third section, Aryanaka. And from which Ved? Because all these Upanishads, they are in all the Vedas. So this is from Yajurveda. Taittiriya Upanishad. How this Taittiriya word comes out? Titri means a bird, a sparrow bird, a small bird full of energy. Titri. So the unique feature of this Upanishad is that it explains the subjective reality in the seeker, both by the direct and the indirect method. We will see that 5 sheets we know about, it was mentioned in this Upanishad also. There are 3 chapters, and this Rishi, he called them Vallis. The first chapter is called a Shiksha Vali. Second chapter is called Brahmand Vali. And the third chapter is called Brigu Vali. Then each chapter has several sections also. At the close of the first chapter, the Shiksha Vali, there is a convocation message to the students by this Rishi. And what is the name of the Rishi? Brigu Rishi. Brigu Rishi is teaching his disciples, and the main disciple is Yajnavalkya, which you are familiar with. So towards the end of the first Vali, we'll see that he gives the convocation message. And he says to these Rishi Kumars, he says, speak the truth. See, these are the messages we have heard from our parents when we were little. Do your duty. Do not neglect the study of the scriptures. Do not cut the thread of progeny. So that means that Grihastha is important too. Swerve not from truth. Deviate not from the path of good. Revere greatness. So these are the kind of messages this Rishi gave, Brigu Rishi gave to his students. Then there's another verse we'll see where he says, let your mother be a god to you. Let your father be a god to you. That's how important mother and father are. They brought us into this world. They are the Brahma of our existence. Let your teacher be a god to you. Let your guest be god to you. This is the culture. Our culture. Do only actions which are blameless. Always show reverence to the great. Be humble. Then another verse we'll see where he says, whatever you give to others, give with love and reverence. Gifts must be given in abundance, with joy, humility, and compassion. If any time there is a doubt with regard to the good conduct, follow the practice of great people, the saintly people, the gurus. But sometimes with our own mind, we cannot see what is right and what's wrong. We have to follow the footsteps of somebody. So these are almost like it's not, some people think that it's a commandment. No, these are not commandments. In Hinduism, there's no commandment. There's a very democratic touch over here. You may do it. That means you have the freedom to do it. And if you do it, you will get this. Second chapter, we'll see that opens with a very profound declaration. He who realizes Brahma attain the supreme Brahma in truth, knowledge, and infinite. Before creation came into existence, Brahma existed as the unmanifest. From the unmanifest was created the manifest. So where did all this manifested world came from? From the unmanifest. And who created that? That's God. From himself he brought forth himself. So this is him, that was him too. He is known as the self-existent. So these kind of declarations we'll study in this Upanishad. Through fear of Brahma, the wind blows and the sun shines. Through fear of him, Indra, the god of rain, the god fire, and Yam, the god of death, perform their tasks. And we'll see what fear means over here. Then in the second chapter, he says, he who knows the joy of Brahma, which words cannot express and the mind cannot reach, is free from fear. Such thoughts as why did I not do what is right? Why did I do what is wrong? Do not bother a person who knows the joy of Brahma. So that means reached above vaktaram. And that's called a karam sannyasi. And in the third chapter, we'll see that which is called a Bhrigu Vali. Bhrigu is the father also, father and the teacher of Varunah. So teaching Brahma to his son disciple, he says, he from whom all beings are born, having born in whom they live, and to whom they return at death, seek to know him. Sometimes we wonder what is the goal of our life. This is the goal. He is Brahma. Seek to know Brahma. How? By meditation. Meditation is Brahma. So the preceptor father leads his disciple, son Bhrigu, step by step. Through meditation, from food to pran, to knowledge, to mind, to intellect. And then he realizes joy is Brahma. So these Upanishads, whether this Upanishad or any other Upanishad we have done before, these rishis, they have made an attempt of the finite to explain the infinite. Sometimes through the stories, sometimes through some other contents. So to define the infinite is impossible actually. Words cannot explain it. They can only indicate towards this truth. And if we practice meditation, then we can experience it. Any fact can ordinarily be indicated through two methods. It could be a direct method or it could be indirect method. Direct method is a positive description. Indirect method is indicating towards that through something else. It's like an ocean. If you want to, somebody has never seen ocean and you want to explain what ocean is, what is a direct explanation? You will say it's a endless expanse of water. And there are waves in it. But underneath, it's calm and tranquil in its depths. And if you want to explain it indirectly, you will say that that which has no outgrowth on it, which is not solid, which is not motionless, which can never float in the air. So that's the indirect message. In Sanskrit, the direct method is called Svarup Lakshan. And indirect method is called Tatastha Lakshan. So in this particular Upanishad, we'll see both the methods employed. Svarup Lakshan also, Tatastha Lakshan also. So the subjective reality in the seeker is indicated by both methods, because that is the goal. We want to know who we are. What is the subject in us? And in the second chapter, there's a direct attempt at definition of the truth with these terms, satyam, jnanam, anantam. And then in the same chapter, we'll see a lot of indirect indications of pure consciousness, elaborate descriptions. And there's a beautiful story about this Upanishad. So Yajnavalkya and other students, they were taught by their guru. When something so deep is taught, the teacher wants to know how well the students have understood. Other students could not explain, but Yajnavalkya, he just poured it all out. Sometimes the teachings of the guru is so subtle, most of the students don't get it. But then one or two students, when they give in their own language, own understanding, other students can understand. So this is what happened over here. Yajnavalkya, he understood, then in his own language, he tried to explain it. And other students got it. While when Guru was teaching, they could not really understand it. But when their fellow student talked about it, got it out, and why Taittiriya? If we look at birds, what do? They find the food, whether it's a little warm or something else from the nature, they come back into the nest, they take it out from their mouth and give it to their babies, the baby birds. The same thing is over here. So that's why this Taittiriya word, because sometimes we get annoyed. Why there's a contrast in there? Why these kind of examples? Why the language is not direct? Because that's why Upanishads are written like that, so that we go into the very subtler realm of our personality. So again, this entire Upanishad is divided into 3 sections. So Shikshavali, it contains instructions, not only pronunciations, but also in the different types of upasanas. We'll see that pronunciation, he mentions that also. How do we pronounce different terms? Through upasana, we sharpen our intellect. So sharp intellect is needed to study something like this. Then Brahmanandavali, That's where the truth is directly explained and indirectly indicated through a scientific analysis of personality construction in a human being. And in the third chapter, Bhriguvali, practical application of the philosophical theories we'll see, which have been mentioned in the previous valis, but in this section, we see that constant inquiry and a consistent meditation, if a student does, you can really enjoy this path. So that means we have to do our part also. It's not just reading something or listening something. We have to practice also. So the attempt of the Upanishad is to express the unexpressible. If God is formless, He's trying to paint that formless for us. We call it a bliss, we call it absolute, we call it voiceless beauty. So this is what he's trying to tell us. See, ordinary things, sure, we can taste, we can touch, we can see, but Brahma, we can't. But we should not think that it cannot be experienced, that infinite cannot be experienced. No, it can definitely be experienced. This is what that great Rishi is telling us. You cannot see it with eyes, these eyes, you cannot touch with these hands, you cannot hear it with these ears, but you can definitely experience it. In objective descriptions, words are used in their direct import. But when you are trying to express the subjective experience, sometimes the same words can help, sometimes they just fall short. But we'll definitely have some kind of a ringing tone in our mind. Because when we hear about God is absolute, God is supreme, so there's a ringing tone left in our mind. And when we experience it, that is our reality. So there's a lot of suggestiveness implied in each word used in this Upanishad. I mentioned the word Upasana, and we have talked about it earlier also in the other Upanishads, other studies. But remember, Upasana is an intellectual process of conscious thinking over a subtle superimposed for the purpose by the mind temporarily upon the grosser object. So that means we are looking at the grosser object, but there is something subtler over there. In the scriptural language, something which is grosser, something which is lesser, they call it, lesser object, it's called nikrisht vastu. Vastu means object, nikrisht. And something which is higher than that, that is called utkrisht drishti. Utkrisht means upper, nobler. So to have upon a lesser object a superimposition of a nobler ideal is upasana. Because idea is so subtle. It's like a God element. When somebody says God is everywhere, we really cannot see or experience it. But when we have a form of God, these days we have the forms, Lord Ram, Lord Krishna, Lord Shiv, we have a Shivling, or even Om sign, we have all that. So we do have the nikrisht vastus, but then nikrisht vastu we got to look at with the utkrisht drishti. So nikrisht vastu Ordinarily, we will put a regular book on the floor, or we'll keep it without a proper cover on it. But when we see the mantra written in it, God's name written in it, we keep it at a higher place. We even put some kind of a beautiful cloth around it. So the paper in that book is same as a newspaper. But newspapers, you see it in the garbage also. But you will never put your Bhagavad Gita. No matter how old it becomes, how much you have written on it, or something may have spilled on it accidentally, you will never put it into the garbage. Because you are superimposing something higher on it. For example, to superimpose the idea of goddess of learning and the divine divinity in it, what do we call Ganga? We call it a Ganga Mata. So water, but we are superimposing something higher in that water. That's why we worship that water. If you have gone to Haridwar, how they worship every night, there is a arti over there. With the help of the flowers, with the help of the light, people offer even milk and rice to that water because they don't see that water. The devotees see the Mata in there who teaches us, who purifies us. So in this Upanishad, Taittiriya Upanishad, 1/3 of the entire bulk of Upasana is spent in advising different items of Upasanas. That shows how essential is the preliminary techniques of self-integration for us. If you want to really know the knowledge, if you want to really experience it, we got to do these preliminary practices also. So Upasana without a certain amount of positive, ethical, and moral life, a fair share of self-control, which is called Atam Sanya, and a lot of conscious and deliberate practices through devotion, and even Karam Yoga, selfless actions. Without all that, no matter how deep the philosophy is, it will not integrate our personality. Without the minimum amount of intellectual sharpness and mental tranquility, it is impossible to understand the scriptures, and especially the Upanishads, other scriptures also. So we need that sharp intellect and calm mind. Tranquil mind is a calm mind. So the entire first chapter of the scripture contains different methods of upasanas, meditations. So that's why I keep urging it to you that please make a habit. Anything we do it repeatedly, it becomes a habit of meditation. But sometimes it sounds strange. A person says, I got so much to do. Where am I going to find time for meditation? This is must. Wherever you take your time out, wherever. We all have a different style of living. But wherever you take the time out to do that, at least 10, 15 minutes, half an hour. It's not meaningless sitting down and absorbing our mind into the higher. All of the Upanishads we did, they started with the peace invocation. A prayer is an invocation. Prayer. So this Upanishad also starts with this prayer. In the prayer, what do? We surrender ourselves. And what are we surrendering? We are surrendering our identification with the body, identification with the mind, identification with the intellect. How? Through devotion and through reverence. And understanding that this is I want to create this conduit of love between me and my Lord. So prayer is a very active part of the divine action. It's very, very important. That's why every Upanishad starts with the prayer invocation. In the peace invocation, the thing desired or invoked is not something to satisfy the physical comfort, okay, or the mental desires of the students, because he's not a beggar. He doesn't even have a need for all that. It's just showing the love for God and surrendering to God. So let's look at the peace invocation today. And this is the start of chapter 1 also, Shikshavali. Om Shanno mitrah, sham varunah, Shanno bhavatu aryama, sham indro brihaspatih, sham vishnururukramah, namo brahmane, namate vayo, tvameva pratyaxam brahmasi, tvameva pratyaxam vadishyami, ritam vadishyami, satyam vadishyami, tanmamavatu, tadvaktaramavatu, mam.h, vaktaram. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. All the mantras, they start with Om. We all know what Om means. Sham. Sham means peaceful or propitious. No means to us. Mitrah. Mitra is the controller of the day. Varunah is the controller of the night. Again, Shanno, no means to us. Bhavatu, maybe. Aryama, controller of the eyes or the sun. Indra, controller of the stronger arms over here. The Indra, the physical body. Brihaspati, controller of the speech, intellect. Vishnu, controller of the feet. Urukramah, all pervading, like a wide striding. There's a story about Vishnu with a big stride, took over the earth and the heavens and the lower realms also. Then when King Vali was doing the yajna, he took over big wide strides. Namo brahmane, salutations Brahma. Namahate vayo, te means you, vayo, the air. Tvam means to you, ev alone, pratyaxam, perceivable. Brahmasi, asi means are. Tvam to you, ev alone, pratyaxam, perceivable. Vadishyami, I shall declare. Ritam, the right. Vadishyami, I shall declare. Satyam, the good. Vadishyami. So together it means the controller of the good and right. Tanmamavatu, tat means over here, tat means that, Brahm. That means Brahm. Mam means me, avatu, may protect. Tat, that Brahma, vaktaram, the speaker, avatu, may protect. Because this peace invocation is recited by both the teacher and the taught. Okay? So the speaker also and me also. Avatu mam may protect me. Avatu vaktaram, protect the speaker. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. And Shanti means peace. May Mitra be propitious to us. May Varun bless us. May the blessings of Arima be with us. May the grace of Indra and Brihaspati be upon us. May Vishnu, the all-pervading, wide-striding, be propitious to us. Salutations to Brahm, salutations to you, O Vayu. You are the visible Brahma. You alone shall I consider as the visible Brahma. I shall declare, you are the right, you are the good. May that protect me. May that protect the speaker. Please protect me. Please protect the speaker, the teacher. Om, peace, peace, peace. I'm sure you're familiar with this peace invocation, if you have done howls before. So this is a peace chanting sung by both the teacher and the taught together. It raises the devotion to the recognized gods of the Vedic period. So these gods, whether it's a Indra or Varunah or Sun or Arima, these are the representations of one divine cosmic power. As I said earlier, the ideals of the divine, which we have these days, were not available at the time, because this is the time. Vedic period is before Lord Ram, before Lord Krishna, okay, or even Lord Ganesh. So that's why the devotees prayed at the feet of the one cosmic power recognized through various representations. If God is everywhere, God is in Vayu also, God is in Agni also, God is in ocean, God is in sun. So they are all, as the Vedas declare, different names and expressions of the same one power. Power is one, God is one, that functions behind the entire phenomena of nature. Because this is what nature is, all these elemental forces. So the deities invoked are all delegates representing in themselves one power. So it's the same power. It's almost like in our own body. Same power working through the eye, same power working through the ear, doing different functions, but the power is the same. The same power making me speak, and the same power is making you hear. So this is what this Rishi and these students are talking about over here. Mitra is the guardian spirit of the prana and the day. Varun governs the outgoing breath, the apan at night. Arima is the presiding deity of the sun and the eyes. If the sun were not there, and sun really means a light principle, the objects and the things of the world will not be illumined by the eyes. That's how they are connected. For the sense organ, eye functions only in the medium of light. So that's why they are considering the sun, the source of light, as the presiding deity of the human eye. That's how it's connected. Then he says Indra is the governor of all might, strength. And where is the strength? We normally look at in the arms. It's like a physical strength. So instrument of the hands. Because in the arms also, the hands are the one which are functioning. And Brihaspati. Brihaspati, again, expression of the divine which controls the intelligence, the buddhi, knowledge, speech. And Vishnu, I mentioned earlier, the wide striding deity of the feet. With the feet we stride. So when we invoke the blessings of the mitrah, varunah, arima, Indra, Brihaspati and Vishnu, the teachers and the students invoking the healthy pran and apan, good eyesight, willing hands, wise speech, and a very healthy, strong limbs, so that day and night with energy and strength we can accomplish while very intellectual, live intellectually. So fulfill the study, fulfill our duties also. So there's a lot embedded in here. When we do Havan also, most of you have done Havan with me. What do we do over there too? We are praying to God. When we touch different parts of our body with the help of the hand through the water, we are saying, give us good sight, good hearing, good smelling power, good arms, good legs. Then we say the whole body, please God. So that's what's happening over here through this mantra. That's why I said this mantra is often recited by the priests. For a perfect and profitable listening to the philosophical discourses, when we want to do the inquiring, when we want to do the upasana, when we want to see whether I am walking on the path, right path or not, we need this instrument which God has given it to us. So it's not just only prayers. These yogis, they even taught us through Hatha Yoga how to keep this healthy also. It's not just only praying, give me good eyes. But my prana and apan should be okay. We got to do pranayama also. Got to make sure that we do the cleansings also. So prayer to God is one hand, but then God says, do what I taught you to do. Did we do yoga this morning? Did we do our prayers this morning? Did we meditate this morning or not? If we do all that which we are supposed to do, then this Upanishads, they are like an ABC. We can understand the subtler meaning behind it. And then God, the name of God just does not stay as a name. You will see God also. You will see God in the fire also when you do the Havan. My own mother used to say that God comes there, accepts my offering. I see it. It's not just a fire which we are burning. So if she could see it, we can see it too. But we have to do all those preliminary practices too. Our salutations to Brahma, a name uniformly used in the entire Vedic literature. So Brahma word we use to address the infinite, the supreme truth. All this what we see is superimposed on Brahma. And then when he says salutations to Vayu, Vayu is the expression of life. Through the infinite variety of equipments in the universe, this Vayu keeps everything connected. Vayu is also called Sutra Atma. That's a Vedic term for Vayu. So it's like an evident expression of life, Sutra Atma. Because on the basis of which the entire kingdom of living, whether it's a plant, whether it's an animal or a human being, we are all wound together. So just like a different flowers are put into the thread and it becomes a garland, the same way the whole manifested world is joined together through the Vayu. That's why it's called a Sutra Atma. And the supreme Brahma is unmanifested. It's all pervading. Vayu represents the manifested Brahma, Hiranyagarbha. So this is a call for peace. And towards the end, this is a peace under the three headings. We need the peace from unseen. See, there are things which are unseen. And we want to be peaceful from that. We don't want them to attack us. Then there are some seen and known things. We need peace from them also. And then subjective, within ourselves, we need the peace too. So in this scripture, we should understand this peace at these three levels. Because we are looking at the entire world over here. Because normally I tell you, when we say peace, we say, I want a peaceful body, I want a peaceful mind, I want a peaceful intellect. Over here, I want you to understand the same words, but peace from unseen. And what is unseen? Any kind of a tragedy, which don't see right now, but it can happen. There could be earthquake. There could be lightning. Unseen, we haven't seen it. We really don't know. But we say, God protect us. Then we say, seen and known. We have seen it. And we know about it. We say, protect us. Then protect me from within me also. My mind. My lower urges. My baser desires. Please protect me from that also. So in order to avoid all obstacles arising from these three types of causes, we are saying Shanti 3 times. So let's stop it here. We'll start with the next verse next week. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Visheshyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you very much.